Rossoneri, this is AC Milan Talk. We are ready for a new weekly episode. Everything is set with plenty of talking points and action on the pitch. As always, I'm not alone. Here with me today, Sheridan Bird. Hi, Sheridan.
Hi, Alicia. Hi, everybody. Great to be here.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
It was a little complicated week.
Yeah, not the greatest week, but we'll get into that. There's plenty of time to analyse what happened.
Today with us also Adriano Del Monte, even if he's not here with us in studio. But hi, Adriano, how are you?
Ciao, Licia. Ciao, Sheridan. Good to be with you again. Licia, doing as well as we can be. Obviously looking forward to getting into everything as always. But Champions League, disappointment last week, but still alive going into match day 6. And Sheridan, I'm very keen to break down exactly how that's possible, but great to be with you both again.
Well, so let's not waste any time. We have a lot to talk about. Let's start as always with our men's first team. Difficult one to take for AC Milan, who lost at home to Borussia Dortmund, and now the prospects just got a little more complicated. But first of all, I would like to focus on what happened on Wednesday night at San Siro, and what happened on the pitch. Sheridan, I'll start with you.
A very tough one to take, Licia. It didn't go well. I think the tone was set for the penalty when Milan won a penalty very early on, and as we'll see, this is the move. Teo driving through midfield. Chukwueze, who was a star all night, his shot was handled by the Dortmund defender. The referee Kovacs pointed to the spot, and Olivier Giroud had the chance after barely 5 minutes to score, but it was an excellent save. Kobel, the Dortmund keeper, is a very, very good goalkeeper, and it didn't go in that time for Olivier Giroud. And then Calabria, with a tackle that he would come to regret, led to a penalty for Dortmund, which Marco Reus put in the corner. Maignan got so close to it. It was a really valiant effort from Magic Mike, but the goal, the ball went into the net. This was perhaps one of the few bright spots of the night, Ligia and Adriano. Was a wonderful goal from Samuel Chukwueze, a really excellent equaliser, showing his name and his number to his fans. He doesn't need to, they know who he is. The whole of Europe knows who he is after that. Wonderful goal, but then after that it all went downhill, guys, because Dortmund managed to retain the lead, let's say, with this goal. It was a clever move, and no one marking Bino Gittins, who passed it into the corner. Some of the defending just a bit sloppy there, and this goal just added insult to injury, really, guys. It was a good effort, and a brave effort by Maignan to keep it out, but with goal line technology, the ball had crossed the line. Game, set and match for Borussia Dortmund. A difficult one, a bitter pill to swallow for the Rossoneri, but that's the Champions League. The margins are so fine, and it didn't go. I think the penalty mistake by Olivier just set the tone, and it's just a match that now has to be put in the archives. Let it go. Have to forget about it, because can't do anything about it. Have to look forward, and I'm sure Adriano agrees.
Of course, Adriano, your comments.
Yeah, obviously, Licia, it was a tough one, and it was the tough start. Of course, very difficult after the Giroud missed penalty, and then the Dortmund penalty, that happening so quickly, being there, of course, that was enough to stun the fans. And it did take a bit of the buzz out of the atmosphere very early on. So being there pitch side, again, as always, a special atmosphere in the lead up. The Milan team came out firing, obviously, the penalty early on. But to the players' credit, I really was impressed with the response, because for large parts of that first half, it was a Milan team that were on top, obviously rewarded with the Chukwueze goal. And not for the first time he scored against a big German club in the UEFA Champions League. He did it for his former club against Bayern Munich as well, eliminating them in a couple of seasons ago. But look, in the end, there were a few positives to take away. But as it stands, Sheridan touched on earlier, Milan are still alive going into match day 6. So obviously there are a few question marks over who will be available. We lost Malik Chow in the match, unfortunately, to injury. So we'll need to see how he and some of the others get on with their recovery. But in the end, there is still belief, there is still hope, and going into match day 6 in a few weeks' time at Newcastle, must win, and then obviously see what happens in the other match.
Before we analyze other talking points about AC Milan versus Borussia Dortmund, I would like to focus on our Rossoneri's post-match reaction, especially Ruben Loftus-Cheek. This is his most recent interview.
We started really well and caused them problems, but I think, you know, the game swung their way in parts, and we had good possession and good chances in the other parts. So it was a pretty even game, I thought. It was just down to moments and them taking their chances, and you know, we didn't do so well with ours. So I think that's how the game went today, and yeah, not one of our days. All we can do is focus on our game in Newcastle and make sure we get the 3 points for us, and then it's up to other teams. It's not in our hands, but we can remain hopeful that we can just do our part and see what happens.
Now the match against Newcastle is the crucial one, but at the same time also the final result between Borussia Dortmund and Paris Saint-Germain is just as important, a glimmer of hope for us.
Yeah, I mean, as very wise words, very well spoken by Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and he said there, it's moments that cost Milan in midweek. But now it's about trying to get a positive result at St James's Park. This is the first meeting of the sides way back in September, Lisha. This is when Newcastle came to Milan, and it was a very lively 0-0. Well, that result simply won't do in the northeast of England. In the next match, match day 6, there has to be a result, and Milan simply have to win. It's a must-win match, as Adriano would say.
We could do something more, maybe, in this match against Newcastle at home.
Have to. Basically, the team, there's no point in going out for a draw. It's no use. Obviously, don't want to lose. So the team just have to go for it. Have to not to throw caution to the wind, because Newcastle are a very good team, but we'll have to try and pool all the attacking resources and to make something happen, because the quality is there. As Ruben Loftus-Cheek pointed out, Milan made chances against Borussia Dortmund. We don't know who will be available due to fitness for the match against Newcastle, but it's a huge match. It's one of the biggest European matches for a while for the Rossoneri, and let's hope it goes the right way.
Adriano, what do you think about it?
Well, I think every match this season in the Champions League group stage has been one bigger than the next, and you are right, Sharon, this is the biggest of the lot for obvious reason. We're looking at the highlights here from that first meeting on match day 1. Of course, it was a 0-0 finish, much to the surprise if you're watching these highlights, because there were a number of golden opportunities for the Rossoneri. Now, despite that being a disappointing outcome on match day 1, I think that Pioli's squad here will take a lot of confidence from that performance, knowing, albeit it was a match at home, of course, they were able to get in behind and really pepper the Newcastle goal without luck. And we know that Newcastle haven't been at their best. They're also dealing with a number of personnel issues as well. So, look, I certainly think that this Milan team, knowing what they can control, hopefully a few players back as well, that they're are 3 points well and truly up for grabs here. But as you touched on, Licha, obviously with one eye on what's happening in Germany, because Borussia Dortmund also must beat Paris Saint-Germain. Now, at the start of the group stage, perhaps many were suggesting that Paris Saint-Germain would be, well, the favourites to perhaps qualify. Well, they too need to get a result at Dortmund to do that. So this is a really interesting game, because Dortmund need a point to win the group. Paris Saint-Germain need to win the group. So there's plenty on the line there, and Paris Saint-Germain thus far away from home in the group stage, 2 defeats. So if they can make it 3 from 3 defeats, and obviously if we can pick up that win, then progression to the knockout stage is still well and truly a possibility. And I take great hope from what we've seen so far in the group stage. But obviously a couple of matches between now and then in Serie A, and Mr. Pioli will definitely need to tweak a few things with those players that are currently out, but reinstill that belief and confidence that they have what it takes to go to Newcastle and pick up maximum points.
Yeah. Before we continue on also the other action on the pitch, it was a very massive night, not only for the Rossoneri, the 11 Rossoneri on the pitch, but obviously also for our head coach, Stefano Pioli, who said the one against Borussia Dortmund was the most important game of the season so far, but something went wrong and now they cannot go wrong. Let's listen our head coach's most recent interview, his post-match reaction.
Credo che nei momenti importanti della gara, dove noi potevamo chiaramente cambiare l'andamento della partita dal punto di vista tattico, dal punto di vista mentale, cioè passare in vantaggio, abbiamo avuto l'occasione non solamente sul rigore iniziale, ma anche dopo sul 1-1, con delle situazioni pericolose che abbiamo creato, con una superiorità numerica dentro l'area 3 contro 1 che non siamo riusciti a sfruttare. Sulla stessa azione abbiamo preso il gol del 2-1. E quindi nei momenti che potevano invece indirizzare la partita dalla nostra parte non siamo stati così qualitativi come invece sono stati i nostri avversari, che hanno sfruttato al massimo i nostri errori per poi andare in vantaggio. Poi è chiaro che la partita si è fatta molto più difficile, anche perché le energie sono venute un pochettino a mancare nel finale, anche se ci abbiamo provato, abbiamo colpito il palo, ma non siamo riusciti a sfruttare quelle situazioni che dovevamo sfruttare per andare in vantaggio. Allora la partita probabilmente si sarebbe messa anche su un binario tattico più favorevole a noi, mentre invece andando sotto insomma, siamo sempre stati costretti a concedere anche un po' di campo per le ripartenze avversarie. Abbiamo solo una possibilità e quindi cercheremo con tutte le nostre forze di fare una gran partita e di vincere su un campo difficile come quello di Newcastle.
AC Milan were back in the winning way in Serie A against Fiorentina, gaining 3 precious points against the opponents ahead in the table. So this is a good thing.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't all doom and gloom. It was an important victory against Fiorentina. This is Theo Hernandez with the only goal of the game, which was the penalty. It wasn't a classic game. Milan underperformed slightly, but got the 3 points. And to be honest, it was all about that at the weekend, because the players probably in their minds had the European match against Dortmund. So it was 3 points, and sometimes it doesn't matter how well you play or what style or what kind of performance you deliver. It's about the 3 points. And Maignan was exquisite, was tremendous, was dominant. Fiorentina could not find a way past Magic Mike. He was truly magic against the team from Tuscany. And it's valuable. 3 points in the league is always crucial, always important. And it was a solid team performance.
Adriano, what about the match you saw on last Saturday night?
Well, obviously it was a special match. It was a big weekend. We recall the top 6 all playing each other. So not underestimate the value of those 3 points. I did see as well that Mike Maignan was not feeling so well in the lead up to the match as well. So for he to put in the performance he did, quite remarkable. Certainly one of the best goalkeepers in world football. So a phenomenal display. And you're right, Sheridan, obviously always difficult in the lead up to a big Champions League match to not maintain the focus, but obviously players just trying to ensure that they're fit for the midweek match. It's very difficult playing every 3 days, but a really tough night against a very strong Fiorentina outfit to pick up maximum points. Again, as I said, do not underestimate how important they are. But Licha, of course, I'm sure we'll get to it, but the special story of the very special debut we saw, I think to be a part of that history and have witnessed that, to see him there, Camarda, what he was able to do, a really, really special moment for that player in this club.
Yeah, of course, our club who wrote itself again in our division for the history of Serie A. A good note, a good result for our club with Francesco Camarda's debut, who became the youngest football player to ever take the field in our division. It's a good thing.
It's a wonderful story. I've been watching him this season in the Primavera. He's a really exciting prospect. I mean, if you just think about it, I don't know what you or Adriano were doing when you were 15 years old, but Francesco Camarda made his debut at San Siro for AC Milan. His future is so bright. He's such an exciting player, and let's watch him develop together. He could be a star for this club and for Italy for 10, 15 years if he has a bit of luck and he works hard, because the natural talent is abundant.
His parents' reaction, also the video, went online very viral. So this was a very big emotion for him, but obviously for his family. Adriano?
Of course, beautiful scenes. I can only imagine for the parents how special that would have been. Sheridan, let's break down some numbers. We love doing numbers. He's 15. I don't know what you were doing at 15, but I don't like to recall the moments of COVID. But you know, when COVID started, not all that long ago, Amarda was 11 years of age and celebrated his 12th birthday in Italy's lockdown at the start. It is remarkable that in a few years he has now debuted for the first team at San Siro. And you are right, a bright future ahead, but of course, still very young, still plenty of time. His goal-scoring record at youth level speaks for itself, but certainly a really exciting prospect. And it's why we love football, stories like this, those scenes of the parents, really emotional. They would be so proud, and what a moment for the youngster coming on for his first match.
I just wanted to say that, Adriano, when it comes to the numbers, you know that I leave it to you, because with the mathematics I struggle.
I know.
So all those statistics you gave us about young Francesco Camarda, I trust you. I can't do the calculations up here. The old brain's a bit slow, but I believe you. And his story is incredible, and that's only the first chapter.
Now on Saturday, the game against Frosinone. What about these opponents? They are doing very well after their promotion this season.
Yeah, they're mid-table, which means that, you know, they're not struggling. They haven't found this return to Serie A too traumatic. They've had some eye-catching results as well. They've had some interesting matches. They seem to score a lot of goals. They've got some very interesting players on loan from Juventus, Baranchea and Sule, who are two very exciting potential players. And I would say they've also got a secret weapon, or not so secret weapon, in the dugout. The manager, Eusebio Di Francesco, who some of you at home may be familiar with, was formerly in charge of Sassuolo and AS Roma, a very good coach. So he'll definitely give our own Mr. Pioli a few tactical puzzles to work out. So it will be a difficult match. Frosinone might not be hugely famous to some of the viewers, but they're a team that are doing well this season. They demand respect. And as I say, Milan will have to see who's fit, who's available, because there are injury doubts, but also will have to keep an eye on those two if they're selected, Baranchea and Sule, because there is quality in the Lions, as Frosinone are known.
Yeah. Adriano?
I agree, absolutely. They'll keep an eye on those players. And look, they're a club that are perhaps exceeding expectations this season. But look, I think the Serie A certainly needs to be respected, but with an eye on preparation for matchday 6 of the Champions League. Obviously, there will be some new faces integrated into the lineup to replace some of the recent injuries. And for Mr. Pioli, it is about finding that right balance, because this is an opportunity, yes, to be respected and obviously aim for maximum points, but just to find out what is the best way to play, who in the right positions going forward. So perhaps a few younger players promoted to the first team, perhaps a few players playing out of position, but it's a really, really important match against an opponent that certainly must be respected, because, Sheridan, you're right, they are a team that have been able to score multiple goals in many matches this season, so you need to respect the attacking quality that they have. But again, as we say every week, Milan at home in these fixtures, we expect maximum points and a strong performance.
It's been a very long week for Pioli's lads, and the weekend is still not up on us, but as we say in Italy, forza ragazzi. Let's move on now to our women's team. Dear Sheridan and dear Adriano, I give you the floor to comment on the last match against Inter. Was it a balanced match, Sheridan?
It was a match which showed that Milan have got new management. We spoke about this previously. Davide Corti is in charge, and there were some signs of a new, maybe not a new era, but a new system for the Rossonere. The result didn't go Milan's way. The derby della Madonnina femminile didn't go the way we wanted, but it's really early days. It's the first match for Mr. Corti in charge of the ladies. So it's a bit early to expect massive changes, but Inter are a good team. It was a fairly close match, but I think we really have to wait a while before we can give a judgment, a view, an analysis of the women, because there's plenty of work for Mr. Corti to do, and we need to leave him in peace a bit, obviously, and let him get on with it, because the potential's there. It just wasn't quite clicking, but it's a fresh start. And this is the action played at the famous Civico Arena, I believe, in the city, and there's Inter's goal. It was the only goal of the game with 20 minutes to go, so it was not a one-sided match. Great turnout, by the way, for women's football. I'm sure Adriano will agree in a moment about how it's great that women's football's attracting so many fans in Italy. The result, not so great. But as I say, it's the beginning of a new era, we hope, for the Milan women, the Rossonere.
Adriano?
Certainly, Sharon, some patience required, no doubt. At any level, change of management comes in, just some time to find their feet, and of course, in a derby to get things underway. Just some patience required. Yes, you are correct, the Arena Civica. They're not too far from where I live, Sheridan, a beautiful part of the city of Milano. Unfortunately, not the result that we wanted to see, but hopefully improved performance to come after the international break and finishing the calendar year off on a high. But a good opportunity now with a bit of a pause, this opportunity to just reset, find their balance, find some rhythm and pick up some important points before the year's end.
This is a very interesting period for our Rossonere, as Sheridan perfectly resumed, because Davide Corti became only 2 weeks ago the new head coach for our women's team, but now they have more time to reflect and to get ready for the next game against Roma, because there is the long week break in the season.
Yeah, it's the international break, so not all of the Milan players will be on duty with their teams, so there will be some players for Mr. Corti and his staff to work with to try and implement his ideas, his methodology, and as soon as the season kicks off again, it's quite a simple match. I'm being sarcastic, of course. It's a Roma, which is a really tough match, but it's a great challenge, and it will be a good way to measure what success, what progress Mr. Corti has made, because AS Roma, for those who don't know, are currently the dominant force in women's football in Italy. So it will be it's tosto, as we say in Italian. It's a punchy challenge for the women against Roma as soon as the international break is over.
Your expectation against Roma, Adriano?
Well, I like the fact that there's some time to prepare. Obviously, Roma must be respected at the top of the table again, defending champions, and playing very well in the Women's Champions League as well, which I think is a credit to the progression of Italian women's football. But obviously, the opponent in a couple of weeks will be a tough test, but look, these are the opportunities to learn. And look, Milan have performed well against Roma in recent seasons, so they'll come in with some positivity. They'll learn some lessons from the defeat to Inter, and hopefully we see a strong performance in a fortnight's time.
So good luck to our Rossonere and their new head coach. Let's move on to our under-19s. 15 minutes of fire, 15 minutes for the winning match, and they come back to beat Borussia Dortmund.
It was a fabulous performance. I say it every week, but I love these guys. They're my boys. They were so good. Dortmund were lacking one or two players because they were on international duty, but they are still a team that took the lead, and this was the equaliser for Milan. Kevin Zeroli, Super Kevin, as I call him, and I'll try and think of a better nickname at some point, but still a brilliant finish by the captain into the bottom corner, and then not very long after, this cross by Clinton was a fabulous cross and stabbed in to the net to make it 2-1. I believe it was Filippo Scotti there with the goal, but they weren't finished, Leacher. They were certainly not finished. Look at that cross. That's a central defender, the number 6 of that cross. Real team effort, that goal. Shortly after, there was another goal for the Rossoneri, and it was spectacularly, well, not spectacularly, but very accurately thumped in by Diego Sia. Or rather, that's Scotti, excuse me. Sia scored the previous goal. So many goals, I'm losing track, Leisha. They were that good. It was absolutely fantastic performance to put Dortmund away 4-1. And this team in Europe are flying. Last season, you may recall, they reached the semi-finals of the UEFA Youth League. This year, they're top of the group, and they're just looking so impressive. This team really are very, very acclimatized to European action.
Adriano, our under-19s will be for sure under less pressure against Newcastle when they will face Newcastle compared to our men's first team.
Of course, they're in a different position, but credit to them for picking up the results and in convincing style as well. They're playing against some of the top youth ranks in European football. Obviously, Dortmund known for producing some quality talent, and that is a fine result. It's really pleasing, and I'm sure you'll agree, Sharon, it's really pleasing to see, obviously, at this point of the season where we have seen a few youth team players promoted to the first team, and that transition is there. That is a result of the good work and the consistency that we've seen under Abate these last couple of seasons. So it is phenomenal that on the pitch they're doing wonderful things, and the fact that we're seeing this transition to first-team football is really, really exciting for the future of this club, not only in the youth team, but obviously going forward into the future. So Veroli and all of the stars that you've grown to love, Sheridan, now we've grown to love as well, stars to keep an eye on for the future, no doubt.
Talking about Primavera Uno, after the defeat against Cagliari, now the main objective is to return and to stay at the top of the table. And the next action is against Lazio. Against Biancocelesti is never an easy fixture.
No, it's not. Lazio are currently in third at the time of recording. They've only lost one match, so they will be a difficult team to play against. But the thing I noted, particularly with this match against Cagliari at the weekend, was that I think Milan, because it's the youth team, so they're a young side, they're still, I think, learning the trade, and they're still learning how to try and give their best in every match, because against Cagliari, this wasn't the best Milan. The team are so much better than they demonstrated against the Islanders, and 3 of the goals, because it was a heavy defeat, Leach. It was a 4-2 defeat for Milan against Cagliari, here in Milan as well. But 4 of the goals, or rather 3 of the goals scored by Cagliari, were gifts from Milan. So perhaps the players weren't quite mentally prepared because they were thinking about the UEFA Youth League, and that happens. I mean, you'll see here another one of these goals. This was an avoidable goal by Milan. It was a mix-up in defence and with the goalkeeper. And it happens, and it's something that you can do when you're in the youth team because you're still learning, and it's a formative part of your career. But I just get the impression that Mr. Abate, when the UEFA League is put to bed until February, when there's the break in European action, needs to get the players together and say to them, let's try and give everything, or let's try and win every match, because you can't select your matches. Now, obviously, they're humans. They get tired. Fatigue is an important factor. But some of these lapses, as we'd call them, in the recent domestic campaign for the Primavera has cost them first place. First against Empoli, and then this weekend, or last weekend, against Cagliari. Mr. Abate, I think they need to work on the mentality that you have to be present, focused for every match, not just the exciting ones. But there is so much raw material in that team. They're so exciting.
Adriano, would you like to add something?
I agree, Sheridan is the expert, but of course, I think with minimal fixtures to focus on, Mr. Abate can bring out full focus in the domestic action, and I think we'll see improved, consistent results. But it's all part of the learning process, Sheridan. We know that it is tough at any level to play multiple matches in a single week. I think these players will benefit from the Youth League group stage being over, and I think we'll see a very strong couple of months from Bate's boys over the Christmas and New Year period.
Well done. With our focus on Bate's side, we come to the end of this new episode of AC Milan Talk. I would like to say thank you to my two friends. So thank you, Adriano.
Grazie, Alicia. Thanks, Sheridan.
Thank you, Sheridan.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you, dear Rossoneri, for following us, and see you again in next episode of our AC Milan Talk. Ciao!